HOA called animal control on my dog. My brother commands the K9 unit. You know what's funny? The people who bark the loudest about safety are often the ones causing the most chaos. And when it came to my neighborhood, nobody barked louder than Karen. I'm Mel Rivera, 34 single, tech writer, and dog mom to the world's sweetest Labrador, Shadow. I moved to Crestwood Oaks to get away from the nonstop energy of city life, find peace, and maybe start a garden that wouldn't die in a week. Shadow came with me. Of course, he's not just a pet. He's a rescue, former service dog candidate, passed every temperament test you can think of, and has a command vocabulary better than most teenagers. The house was perfect, but the neighborhood, that's where the trouble began. I met her the second day I moved in. Karen, short blonde bob, iron-pressed khakis, and a clipboard that seemed surgically attached to her hand. She marched across the lawn like it owed her taxes. "You'll need to submit a pet registration form," she announced without saying hello. "There's no HOA here." I replied, confused. She smiled, tight-lipped. "There's a residential committee. We oversee behavioral compliance, especially with animals." I should have walked away then, but I didn't. I handed her Shadow's vet papers, rabies cert, everything she could possibly need. She glanced at them like they were junk mail. "He's a large breed. We have stricter thresholds. Anything over 55 pounds needs temperament assessment." "Karen," I said, "he's literally certified through the Companion Canine Trust. That's not our standard." I nodded slowly. "And what is your standard?" She tapped the clipboard. Me. The next few weeks were a blur of passive-aggressive behavior. Notes on my door, warnings about off-leash incidents that never happened. A formal sanitation complaint because Shadow pooped on my own grass and I scooped it 5 seconds later. Then came the real attack. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was at work in my home office. Shadow was chilling on the front porch inside a waist-high picket fence, lounging in the shade, leash coiled nearby, bowl full of water, nothing unusual. Karen walked by. I watched from the window. She paused, took out her phone, snapped pictures, then pointed at Shadow and screamed. He didn't even react, just blinked at her. She screamed louder. I bolted outside. "What are you doing? This dog is dangerous," he growled at me, Karen. He hasn't even stood up. She pointed. "I've already called animal control. What you're going to learn the hard way. Miss Rivera." She stormed off. 20 minutes later, a city truck rolled in. Animal control. I met them halfway down the driveway. "Ma'am, we got a call about an aggressive dog." "Do I look like someone who keeps an aggressive dog?" I asked, gesturing at Shadow, who was sitting like a statue, tail thumping lazily. To their credit, they were professional, took one look, reviewed the situation, checked the fence. "This is clearly retaliation," one muttered. But protocol was protocol. They had to write a report. Shadow had to be evaluated off-site for 24 hours. That's when I made one phone call. My brother, Marco Rivera, has two things in abundance: a deep love for animals and a badge with a lot of weight behind it. He runs the entire county's K9 division, trains German Shepherds, Belgian Malinois, Labradors for search and rescue, narcotics, you name it. He doesn't just work with dogs, he understands them better than most people. I called, barely holding back tears. "They're taking Shadow." 10 minutes later, two black and white K9 trucks rolled into my neighborhood. Karen was back across the street with binoculars. When she saw them, she came marching down like she owned the asphalt. "I already filed my report," she shouted. Marco stepped out of the truck, calm, unshaken, dressed in uniform. "You must be Karen," he said. She looked smug. "That's correct. I'm the chair of residential compliance." Marco raised an eyebrow. "No, you're not. I filed this dog as a public safety risk." Marco turned to the animal control officer. "This is my sister's dog. Shadow passed K9 level evaluation twice over. You're not removing him from the property without a court order." The officer nodded. "Noted. We'll file the report with no seizure. Situation seems under control." Karen lost it. You can't override city officers. Yes, I can, Marco said, showing his credentials, especially when they're acting on a fake HOA complaint and there's clear evidence of abusive process. She started yelling, then crying, then yelling again. That's when the neighbors came out. See, I thought I was alone, but turns out Karen had been doing this for months. She tried to get one neighbor's cat banned for curbside presence, told a kid his guinea pig was vermin, filed a stray animal report on a woman's therapy dog. Nobody pushed back because they didn't know how, but Marco, he knew how. He filed a complaint real this time with the County Department of Civic Code Enforcement, then went on local radio, told the story. He didn't name Karen directly. He didn't have to. The community figured it out. 3 days later, Channel 9 showed up to interview me. Karen tried to interrupt the live taping. They aired it anyway. A week later, she got an official cease and desist. She had no legal authority. Her fake HOA shut down. Her fake website taken offline. Her compliance committee reported for harassment and fraud. Her front lawn sign that used to say "We Protect Standards" was spray painted with a sticky note. Not with lies, you don't. Last weekend, we held a neighborhood picnic. Kids brought their pets. Seniors brought lawn chairs. I brought Shadow. Marco brought one of his K9 unit dogs, a majestic German shepherd named Valor. They sat side by side, calm, trusting, safe. Karen watched from behind her curtains, but this time she didn't come out. We're forming a new resident council, not an HOA, just a communication forum with actual transparency, real consent, no clipboards, no scare tactics, and Shadow. He's got his own honorary K9 badge now. Marco surprised us with it. Not every hero has to bite. He said, call to action. Have you ever had to defend someone or something you love from false accusations? How do we protect community safety without giving power to petty tyrants? Share your story in the comments, because real protection comes from understanding, and justice, it wags its tail quietly and waits.